Jake exhaled into his stale coffee cup and stared at the blinking line of refugees queued up outside the Interstellar Customs booth. Another day, another group of traumatized aliens thinking Earth was some kind of space spa. He rubbed his temples and muttered, "Please let this be the day nobody tries to pay in pheromones." A soft chime sounded. Next. She walked in slow, shoulders hunched, cloak frayed and hanging off her shoulders like it had been through a supernova. Her skin shimmered faintly, like opal under firelight. Eyes too wide, voice trembling. "I am Zyriel of Cthari Prime. I carry no objects. My body is all I have left, please be gentle." Jake blinked. What?" She undid the top clasp of her wrap, revealing way too much iridescent skin for a government terminal. His voice went up half an octave. "Okay. Nope. Let's not get unwrapped in customs today." She tilted her head. "You asked for declaration? This is my declaration." Jake slapped the panic button under his desk. Nothing happened. Typical. Right. Let's try this again. You're here for refugee intake. You declare physical possessions. Objects. Not organs. Or glands. She slowly reclassed her wrap, a little confused, a little disappointed. "I was told humans accept value by form. I have good form." Jake made the mistake of glancing. She wasn't wrong. "Lady, I process landing clearances and luggage scans. This ain't a casting couch." Zyriel stepped forward. "Then you do not wish to process me?" Jake choked on his coffee. What? No. I mean yes, no, I mean I process paperwork. Not people." She leaned in closer. "But my people say humans process first, then penetrate." She whispered the last word like it was sacred. Jake slammed his hands on the desk. "I need you to fill out this form." She smiled softly. "Oh. With what fluid?" He stared. "No. With a pen." "A pen?" Zyriel blinked innocently. "A human insertion tool." "Yes. I understand now." He slid the paper toward her like it might explode. She picked up the pen, turned it upside down, and examined it like it was a probe. Jake resisted the urge to scream. She scribbled a few alien glyphs with the grace of someone who'd clearly never used a pen before. Then she offered it back like a gift. "My mark is now yours." Jake mumbled. "I'm gonna need a therapist after this." He scanned the page. "All right. You've listed your possessions as one ceremonial wrap, a half-broken rebreather, and flexible biology." Zyriel nodded. "It is quite flexible." He rubbed his eyes. "Ma'am, that's not a legal asset. Yet males on your network seem to desire it greatly." Jake stared at her. "Wait, what networks?" "I access your planetary broadcasts for cultural education. Flexvids. The humans were always very excited." Jake tried not to think about it. He failed. "Those were adult channels. That's not representative of actual customs. But they all began with inspections and ended with joyful bonding. Is that not the Earth standard? Those were actors." She nodded solemnly. "I, too, can perform." Jake slammed the stamp onto her form. "I'm clearing you for temporary entry. Just go." Her eyes widened. "Then, you accept me?" "No. I accept your paper. Not your body. But your touch was so firm." She clutched the stamped paper like a love letter. "It's done, then. We are bonded." "We are not bonded. You stamped me. I stamped the form. But the paper touched my wrap. That's symbolic placement." Jake leaned back in his chair and whispered, "Kill me." Zyriel tilted her head again. "Is this a ritual death?" "I am unfamiliar but willing." He groaned and held out another form. "Final question. Do you have any biological sensitivities or species-specific declarations for Earth residents?" She smiled brightly. "My kind bonds through scent and fluid memory. Once accepted, are sent in codes. I have already encoded yours." He knocked over his coffee. Ma'am, have you been smelling me? Only a little. She inhaled dramatically. You carry traces of caffeine, anxiety, and loneliness. Jake grabbed a wipe and dabbed his forehead. I'm going to file a complaint with whatever star God made today happen. I am grateful, she whispered. You are the first male not to reject my offering. I didn't reject. I redirected. There's a difference. Then you are gentle. Just as I asked? Jake froze. Zyriel stepped closer again, expression softened. May I now skin you? No scanning. No sniffing. No offerings. Just immigration paperwork and a personal breakdown. She placed her hand gently on the scanner pad. It buzzed and glowed green. Oh. I like that. Should I do it again with my... Jake cut her off. Nope. You're officially processed. Go to intake room C. Zyriel bowed. Thank you, human. I will await our next ritual with anticipation. Jake watched her walk away and muttered to himself. I should have taken that plumbing apprenticeship. Jake leaned back, stared at the ceiling, and tried to reboot his brain. Zyriel was officially processed, but the phantom scent of alien pheromones still clung to his nostrils like guilt in an ex's hoodie. His terminal beeped again. Next. A thick-set creature waddled up and slapped a slimy pouch on the desk. These are my reproductive eggs. It croaked proudly. Jake blinked. Sir, I need items, not your baby jelly. The creature looked offended. On my world, this is our highest currency. On mine, that's a health code violation and a lawsuit. He pushed the form over with a gloved finger, and the alien wiggled away, pouting. Jake sighed. 1 refugee down, 17 to go. But none haunted him quite like Zyriel. Her voice kept echoing, My body is all I have left, please be gentle. He shook the thought off like a dirty blanket. Be professional. The door opened again. Zyriel peeked back in. Forgive me, human. I was told to return for biometric calibration. Jake squinted. You were cleared. Why are you back? I was told follow-up scans are required for those with enhanced flexibilities. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Who told you that? A very friendly creature with multiple tongues. He said it would help you understand my folds. Jake wheezed. Folds of what? She gestured downward. Muscle groups. No. We are not doing a demonstration. Zyriel stepped inside anyway, graceful but clueless. She tapped the scanner again, and when it vibrated, she purred. Jake jumped. Can you not sound like that when electronics touch you? It's a reflex, she said innocently. When touched, I emit readiness tones. Jake looked at the scanner like it had betrayed him. You need to leave before I get arrested in 3 galaxies. I wish only to bond correctly. Was my offering insufficient? Jake stood up. Your offering was anatomically overwhelming. Zyriel lowered her gaze. I studied Earth texts. Your males appreciate boldness. Jake chuckled. Earth males appreciate not being reported to HR for psychic overexposure. She leaned in again, eyes glowing faintly. If I were to offer another gesture of willingness. Jake raised a hand. No gestures. Not even polite waves. I'm barely hanging on here. Zyriel looked genuinely confused. Do you not find me desirable? Jake opened his mouth. Closed it. Then pointed at her with a sigh. You are the single biggest temptation I've ever filed paperwork for. Which is exactly why this cannot happen. She tilted her head. I do not understand. You show signs of arousal, but reject fulfillment. Jake sputtered. You can read that? You're perspiring at a rate 12% higher than baseline. Your voice modulates. Also, you dropped your pen 3 times. He muttered. It slipped. From your fingers or your concentration? He stared at her. She stared back, completely calm, which somehow made it worse. Look, he said, trying to focus. You're fresh off a ruined planet. You need time, not trauma. Maybe a warm meal, a bed, therapy, in that order. Zyriel's eyes lit up. I may share your bed, then? No, I meant metaphorically. As in rest and recover. She nodded. Ah. You humans love metaphors. I heard one on your broadcast, pound the muffin. Jake choked. That's not a metaphor for healing. Oh. I thought it was a human medicinal act. Only for very lonely weekends. She stepped around the desk and stood near him. You are kind. Most males would have accepted my body and forgotten my name. He folded his arms. I haven't even processed your zip code. I don't have time for galactic romance. She reached out, placing 2 fingers on his chest. But your heartbeat accelerated when I entered. It also does that when I see a tax form. Still, she said softly, you are different. Jake exhaled. Why me? Out of all the humans, why do you keep coming back? She didn't smile. Because you were the first to treat me like more than cargo. The first to look me in the eyes instead of at my curves. He wanted to argue but couldn't. She had a point. She whispered. I do not understand your restraint. You say no, but your body says maybe. He flinched. My body's a liar. Zyriel leaned in slowly, not quite touching. Let me read you with more than my glands. Jake stepped back like the floor was lava. You need to find your housing pod. Not my pod. She grinned. You said no metaphors? He cursed under his breath and activated the terminal. Section C3. Go. Now. Before I do something noble and regretful. Zyriel bowed slowly. As you command, mate. Not your mate. She sauntered out, hips swaying in ways he tried not to notice. Again. The door hissed shut. Jake sat down, face flushed. He looked down at his own trembling hand. The scanner beeped again. Next. A furry alien crawled in on 6 legs, holding what looked like a squirming squid in its mouth. Jake sighed. You know what? Just tell me straight. Is that a weapon, a child, or a sex toy? Yes, it said cheerfully. Jake banged his head on the desk. I need a transfer. Or a therapist. Or both. Jake stirred his 5th cup of recycled coffee, watching the swirling foam like it might offer answers the Galactic orientation manual never could. The terminal flickered. Another request pending. His thoughts weren't on the queue. They were still wrapped around curves, sense, and a particular refugee who didn't know how metaphors, or boundaries, worked. He tapped the console. Still not your mate, he muttered to no one in particular. The door hissed. Zyriel entered again. Jake didn't even flinch. Didn't I send you to housing? You did. But the others there said I must be misclassified. Why? They said only bonded females get assigned C3. That it's for intimate claimants. Jake groaned. It's a typo. It was meant to be Section B3. Bureau, not, never mind. I'm confused, she said, stepping closer. Do humans not claim they're chosen? We do. But not via clerical error. She placed both hands flat on the table. Then claim me correctly. Jake held up a finger. Let's review what claiming means on Earth. Because I think in your language it's romantic. And in mine, it's legally binding. Zyriel tilted her head. So, is that a yes? He nearly knocked over the cup. It's a not right now because you're a war refugee with confused instincts, and I'm an underpaid government worker with poor judgment. But you're kind. Bare minimum, sweetheart. You're aroused. Do not cite my biology like it's a job qualification. She sat down across from him, uninvited but unbothered. On my world, choosing a mate is based on instinct and evidence. Instinct says you're suitable. Evidence says you haven't rejected me. Jake exhaled. I've definitely rejected you. Firmly. Multiple times. You keep letting me back in. He paused. You're not wrong. She offered a small, genuine smile. Then is this what humans call mixed signals? Lady, I'm a walking satellite dish at this point. Zyriel leaned forward. Let us make sense of the signals. Jake leaned back. Not happening. Not here. But I've prepared. I watched 17 hours of Earth touch rituals. I studied your rhythms. Your noises. That explains the awkward moaning every time a machine beeps. It is traditional, yes? Only in certain videos. Not in customs. Zyriel's eyes softened. Why are you afraid to touch me? Jake stared. Because if I start, I'm not sure I'll stop. She didn't blink. That is acceptable. No, he snapped. It's not. Because you deserve more than a cheap fantasy played out in a processing booth. She frowned. You think I don't know the difference between lust and bond? I think you're wounded. Desperate. Looking for safety. You're mistaking the first kind face you saw for something it's not. Zyriel went quiet. For once, no double entendres. Just silence. I'm not confused, she said finally. I know the difference. Others offered to take me. They saw my form. You're the first one who didn't strip it with your eyes. Jake looked away. Don't give me credit I don't deserve. You showed restraint. That means more than heat. He stared at the console screen, trying not to let the silence thicken. So what now? I need to understand. Not your forms. Not your pens. You. He snorted. I'm nothing special. You are patient. You're sarcastic. You wear sadness in your laugh. Jake raised an eyebrow. You read that from my file? I read it from your posture. He didn't answer. His hand hovered over the terminal. Zyriel whispered. Tell me truthfully. If I had come to you with everything, citizenship, credits, status, would you have touched me then? Jake looked up. Probably. Then you're honest. I'm also dangerously close to kissing someone I can't legally date. Why? Because you're still processing. She looked down. We all are. He looked at her. Not just at her body this time, but her posture, her scars, her exhausted expression behind the confident words. What happens if I let myself care? He asked. Zyriel tilted her head. Then we see where caring takes us. You sure this isn't pheromone confusion? If it is, we'll blame biology later. Jake stood, slowly walked around the desk. She looked up at him, unflinching. He stopped inches away. Last chance to walk away before things get complicated. I walked through war. Complicated doesn't scare me. He sighed. You're impossible. I'm flexible. That's not helping. I wasn't trying to help. He chuckled, just once, low and resigned. Then he looked her dead in the eyes. One date. Not a ritual. Not a claiming. No scanning. Just a conversation. She smiled. With or without body fluids? Jake laughed. Without. Please. For now. Zyriel extended her hand. Then I accept your offer. He shook it. Firm. Warm. No vibrating. Progress. The scanner chimed behind him. New refugee waiting. Jake looked at her hand still in his. You're gonna drive me insane. You started with coffee. I'll finish the job. Jake stared at his reflection in the security terminal's black screen, adjusting his collar like it mattered. It didn't. It was still government-issued gray, sweat-stained, and smelled faintly like recycled air and panic. His shift was ending. He had 37 forms unfiled, 2 reports overdue, and 1 alien refugee who thought they were soul-bonded. Maybe she wasn't wrong. Zyriel entered again. No dramatic entrance. No suggestive phrasing. Just calm, steady footsteps. Jake raised an eyebrow. You're back. She nodded. You said 1 conversation? I brought snacks. She held up a sealed pouch of glowing purple cubes. Jake blinked. Is that food or bait? It's edible. Technically. He took one. Chewed cautiously. His eyebrows lifted. That's not awful. Zyriel smiled. We call it Gelanthor. It means resilience molded in sweetness. Catchy. On Earth we just call this emotional eating. She sat beside him, quiet for a moment. No purring, no declarations. Just presence. Jake cleared his throat. So, you still think we're bonded? Not in ritual, she said softly. But maybe in something quieter. Quieter's good, Jake muttered. Quieter doesn't get me reassigned to a volcanic outpost. Zyriel tilted her head. Would you come if I was reassigned there? He didn't answer immediately. You're asking dangerous questions. You're giving careful answers. He looked at her, tired but curious. You want honesty? Always. I wanted you the moment you walked in. Not just your body. Your chaos. Your sincerity. But I thought if I touched you, I'd ruin you. She blinked. That's a heavy fear. It's easier to process strangers. They don't look at you like you matter. Zyriel reached out, not touching, just hovering. I look at you because you're kind. Even when your words aren't. He looked at her hand. You can't just walk in here and fix my broken circuits with compliments. I didn't bring circuits. Just more snacks. He laughed despite himself. You know, you're the only refugee who's ever offered me anything besides space lice and trauma. I offer partnership. Equal. Not for rescue. For choice. Jake stared. I don't do well with emotions wrapped in metaphors. Then let me be clear, she said. I want to know what your bed smells like. He choked. That's not less confusing. I want to know your rhythms. Your noises. The way you snore or pretend you don't. I don't snore. You absolutely do. Jake smirked. You sniffed me in my sleep, didn't you? I memorize scent trails. It's part of my species bonding. And you still want me? She nodded. Even more so. You smell like sarcasm and sadness, and something warm underneath. That might just be indigestion. Or affection. Jake exhaled slowly. You ever think this whole thing started because of a form misunderstanding? I know. But I stayed because of how you corrected it. He leaned back in his chair, let silence settle, then turned to her. You realize if this goes forward, we're going to be the weirdest couple in 3-star systems. Zyriel leaned in. That excites me. Jake held her gaze. You sure this isn't a trauma reaction? She reached for his hand. It's a clarity reaction. He looked down at their joined hands, then up at her again. Okay. Then here's the deal. She nodded. I'm listening. You come home with me, you meet my shower. You do not purr every time the toaster dings. No promises. You also don't skin me without asking. Only consensual scanning. And you don't quote FlexVids during anything. I've deleted the files. Jake grinned. Then we're probably doomed. Zyriel squeezed his hand. Beautifully doomed. He stood, motioned her toward the exit. Let's get out of here before I file something I regret. As they walked out, a nearby AI chimed. Human, Xeno pair confirmed. Mating status pending. Would you like to initiate cohabitation subroutine? Jake shouted. No. Zyriel smiled. Yes. The AI paused. Conflicting answers detected. Initiating emotional standoff. Jake turned to her. You're enjoying this. Absolutely. You really think we can make this work? I think we already started. He stopped in front of the airlock, turned to face her seriously. No rituals. No paperwork. Just you and me. Messy, confused, but real. Zyriel leaned in. Then let me offer one final truth. He raised a brow. Yeah? She smiled slyly. My body is still all I have left, but now I'm offering it with dinner and a toothbrush at your place. Jake snorted. Well, damn. That's the most seductive customs declaration I've ever heard. Then stamp it. He leaned in, kissed her, light and warm. I just might.